How are you lot? Work ethic, I think, is an interesting one that I'd like to kind of touch on today, based on a conversation or two conversations or so that I had over the last previous week. How do you view like your time at work? Do you feel that you're basically paid for your time, whereas the job that you do, is literally just determined by what you are asked to do? Or do you feel that you are particularly paid to do a specific job? And I ask this because I know I myself fall into the category of I am paid for my time. So the hours that I spend at work, that's basically what I'm paid for. The job that I do while I'm there is basically up to the bosses and whatever they ask me to do. And I kind of noticed something really interesting. And that's a couple of the staff who, one of them is a little bit younger and one of them is a little bit older than me. And they look at it differently. They look at it like they have a very specific job to do. And anything outside that job is very much met with, I'm not paid to do this. Which is interesting because I think both ways of doing something have their pros and cons. For example, for me, seeing that I'm paid for my time rather than a specific job, it means that I'm asked to do more. And because I'm quite happy to do anything that's given to me within reason, obviously, it feels that I'm actually being given more, sort of choice and freedom to do a lot more stuff, which is helping me learn a lot more stuff. However, being, let's say, flexible and being capable to do a lot more, currently at least, isn't actually getting me paid any extra money. So it feels that I'm very much sort of shooting myself in the foot by being a sort of jack of all trades, if you like. If you look at the other side of that coin, you have the people who are very adamant that their job is all that they do and they do not do anything outside of it because they are not paid to do so. These people are then also complaining that they're not given any responsibility, they're not being allowed to do anything else, or they're not being kind of asked if they would like to do anything else. And for me, I find that very interesting because it's like, well, why would the bosses turn to you and say, hey, would you be interested in doing this? If all they have heard you say is when there is other stuff to do, you're sitting there saying, oh, it's not my job, I'm not doing it. It feels to me like it's very much an attitude thing. And especially the last kind of few months since starting at this place, I have felt that attitude is a very big thing to a lot of people. I've always tried to have a more like open and positive attitude, maybe not to my own life inside my own little world, but outwardly to others, to other people's, to work, etc., etc. I've always tried to be positive, approachable, willing, and helpful. And it feels that it has always been a positive to a degree. It depends on how you see your positives. Financially, it's never really been a benefit, but in terms of learning new skills, going places and doing stuff and just like learning different parts of the job, it has always been positive. The one thing that I really didn't appreciate though is a couple of times last week, these two other members of staff are almost complaining about an aspect of their job that is actually part of their job. And they moan quite a bit like, oh, I don't get paid enough to do this. Which irritates me because it's like, well, it is part of your job description. If you didn't wish to do that, that should have been something that you either discussed at the time, when you went for an interview, or, do something about it. It's part of the job description. You can't turn around and say, I'm not doing this. It's not my job. It doesn't work. But what I don't really like about that is I am being asked more and more and more to help them. Basically, certain parts of the business are starting to fall behind because they're not pulling their weight. And Mr. Jack of all trades over here is being asked to basically fill in and help keep things moving, which I don't mind doing. The way that I look at work is, for me, it's all about balance. So there's certain times where my actual job role that I was employed to do becomes very quiet. So it's always good to have something else to do so that I've always got some work to do so that I'm not just stood around waiting. So, of course, I don't mind helping them out. What I really don't appreciate, though, is when I'm doing a part of their job that is in their job description, and then they are really talking to me, directly at me, about how they don't want to do this or this or this because it's not their job. Why should they do something that's not their job and get, not get paid for it, sort of thing. The whole time they're complaining about doing things that's quote unquote not their job, I am literally doing something that technically isn't my job. It's their job, but they're slacking too much to do it. I found it very literally disrespectful, I suppose, that I have had to be asked to help these guys out, and they are standing there complaining about, oh, we shouldn't have to do things, it's not our job, I don't get paid enough to do this. There is a saying that goes along the lines of, if you pay peanuts, expect monkeys, which is similarly to the, if you pay minimum wage, expect minimum work. But somebody somewhere has to turn it on its head. Now, the staff, they're saying, well, we're only paid minimum wage, so we're going to do minimum work. But then they are always expecting to get paid more money. Now, if I was an employer, why would I look to pay you more money if you're only going to do minimum work? And I will add to that, sometimes not even the minimal work. That's what I'm saying. I've had to step in and help them out. Even the two bosses have had to come down and help out. So from an outside perspective, you're wanting more money, but not even doing the bare minimum. It doesn't work. And I feel that I'm in a better position to ask for a raise because of the responsibility and the flexibility that I've taken on. At the moment, I have not asked for the raise. I feel that I probably should have done, but I also know that I'm within a probation period. After that probation period, I should have a sit-down review, and I'll sort of discuss it then and bring it up then. And part of me feels that that is a better time to do it because I will be deeper involved in a lot more aspects of the work. So it's not just like, oh, I've got a rough idea how to do this. It'll be a case of I've got, 6 months experience in all these different areas. As a result of that, I'm more flexible, more reliable. Please could I, see that reflected in my pay. I feel that again, though, is all an attitude thing. I've always tried to be positive. I've always tried to be willing. Because this job that I do is a creative job, I feel like really interested in it, and learning all the aspects is something that sometimes it can be tiring because it does feel like my selection of jobs to do some days is like a mountain, and then it's getting piled up on because I've got to pick up the slack from those guys. So it's like, okay, I've got all of this to do with my own stuff, and now I'm being asked to help them out. But I do feel positive towards it. And like I say, because I'm paid for the hours that I'm at work, I don't mind working over my hours. Again, that's got its pros and cons. It's pros because I am paid for every hour that I'm there. It's cons because, well, it just sees me at work longer than potentially I need to be. But I think that's how you move things forwards, though, right? You can't expect change to happen and not actually put in any sort of effort to do anything about it. If I want to get myself in a better situation in whatever way it is, I need to put the work in to earn the money. It doesn't necessarily matter what the job is. If I can earn more money, I should earn more money. And it's pretty flexible there anyway. And you have a minimum set number of hours that they need you to work. And I've always worked nearly double that. But it's meant that things have kept moving. Now, I understand that this isn't everybody's cup of tea. A lot of people work in jobs that they just don't want to be in and will probably never even think about doing those extra hours, which completely understand. We've all been there. We've all worked jobs that just kind of grind us down and grind us down. But I think for me, it's very important to try and find that balance. People always say that going to work isn't necessarily something that should make you happy, and it's just like a means to an end. You go to work to get money, and it's the money that's the important thing. But I think for me, I look at it differently because it's like, if I want to get up to do something every day for however many years, you should need to enjoy it. Like, it should be something that doesn't boil you, bring you down, drag you down. It should be something that you are content with. You don't even necessarily have to be happy with, but you have to be okay with getting up and doing it every day for, like, let's say 40 years. that's what our job is. And I know that there's a lot of aspect out there that's basically telling you that you should chase money. But especially in today's economy, chasing money is very much like an animal trying to chase its tail. There's so much more expense everywhere that money that we earn just doesn't go as far as it used to anymore. And the stress is already there to get enough to make the bare minimum. Why continually try and push and push and push to try and get more and more and more if you're going to suffer in another means? Now, I say that obviously from a very fortunate position, given my sort of situation. I'm still living at home, and technically we're splitting bills across 4 adults, and I'm very lucky in that respect. But other people don't have that luxury, and I understand that, and other people are really trying to fight for every penny that they can get so that they can get the basics. It just blows my mind, something that we were talking about at work actually, how the concept of money is. And all it is it's a value placed on something. Like, let's take coins, for example. It's just a type of metal that somebody has given it a value. But realistically, the economy could be turned upside down if everybody just decided one day, you know what, I'm not going to use money because I don't have enough, and use a resource that we have lots of that has purpose and value to somebody else. I mean, the example that I gave at work was carrots. It's not exactly the greatest example because people across the world don't necessarily need carrots, but you kind of do. If you looked at carrots as your only food source, for example, and I wanted to buy something off of you and I offered you food in return for your product, and it was able to give people that break of not needing to find food as such because that's now your trading currency, money completely devalues itself. And I do find the concept of money to be very interesting because it's only something that has value because people tell you that it has value. If tomorrow, for example, the gas companies decided they no longer accepted your currency and you had to find a different currency, then what do you do? It's literally like that. It starts at the top. The highest person can suddenly decide, oh, we don't like money anymore. We want to use something completely random. And then it has to filter down. But surely that's also controlled from the bottom. The people who are out there spending all day, every day, if we knew that there was a resource that was more valuable to us than money, which is just numbers on a screen, and people kind of all got together, it'd go back to how it was way back when, before sort of currency and money existed. It was a bartering system of you've got something that I would like, I've got something that you would like, let's exchange. And that's what things were. Money itself doesn't really have any value. We're just told it does. A house costs so much money because we're told that that's what it is. But if you were able to give, for example, the builder something that they really needed, then the value of the house is different. I don't know. But I did find it very interesting that I look at work in terms of I am employed and paid for my time, whereas the others were looked at work like they were employed to pay to do a very specific job, and the arguments that kind of ensued as a result of that. Whereas I'm paid for my time, so the time that I am at work, whatever job I do whilst I'm there, that doesn't really bother me as long, like I say, as it's within reason. It's nothing too unsafe or goes against, if it was something quite geogrative or whatever, just not a done thing, then fair enough. But these others were like, nope, this is my job description. This is what I'm going to do. And then complain that I'm not paid a lot of money to do the bare minimum. Complain that they're not given chances to do anything else. But then never put yourself out there and put that attitude forward that you are willing to do anything else. And I think it reflects on how the relationship is between the staff and the boss. And that in itself causes its own problems because I seem to get on really well with the two bosses. There's also a lot more to it. I am male, they are male. It can literally be like that. The other two members of staff are, well, one is female and one is a they, them. And both of those feel that they clash with my bosses. But for me, I suppose because I've worked with a lot of different people, a lot of different environments, a lot of different attitudes, it just feels like it's an attitude thing. Both of them can be very negative. They feel that the boss gives off attitude. And I agree, it does feel like that sometimes. He's very big in terms of his personality. But I think sometimes you just have to soak it up and just not judge people. And I feel that that's a lot of what goes on at our place. It's only a small team as well. But it just feels that some people want to put up more barriers than they want to help break down. And what I have found in the short time that I have been there, by trying to help these guys out, by trying to show that you do want the business to succeed and go forwards, you get a lot more opportunity. You get a lot more doors open up for you. They want to include you a lot more and they want to help you grow. And in all fairness, I have noticed that pretty much everywhere that I've worked, that a positive attitude and a willingness can see you go a lot further than just try and do the bare minimum. I don't know. Yeah, I just find it very interesting, really. I'd be interested to know what everybody else thinks. I'd be really interested, actually, because this feels like it's one of those things where I'm a little bit of the anomaly. I feel that I should be more, focused on, at least the finances. If I'm taking on more responsibility, I should be getting more money for it. But ultimately, do you feel that you're paid for your time, or do you feel that you're paid to do a specific job that you're employed to do? I find it very interesting. But let us know in the comments. I hope you're all doing well, and I hope to see you again soon. Take it easy, folks.